All right, so welcome to 1 Million Cups. We are an educational event that happens every week, Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Actually, we're in 10 cities across the country right now, so part of a much greater group. We're really excited about that. But for those of you that are new, 1 Million Cups is an educational experience. We will be having 2 presenters this morning. Each presenter has 6 minutes to come in, bring the room up to speed on their startup and what they're doing, and then we open up to the audience for 20 minutes of Q&A. So really that's where we see the value of what we do, being able to bring entrepreneurs out into the face of the community so that we can all benefit from the cumulative experience, because there are things you know that I definitely don't know that we can all benefit from. So that's pretty much the rundown of 1 Million Cups. We'd like to thank the Kauffman Foundation for hosting us every week, letting us use this beautiful space. They also make sure to provide the coffee and clean up all the trash. So if you would, be sure that your coffee cups make it back to a trash receptacle. Also, one of the slides we've got going up right now is Dream Big US. I don't know. I think we already transitioned over. But Dream Big US is having a competition. Looky Loo, which is here out of Kansas City, also My Ed Match out of Kansas City, and Bot, which is another 1 Million Cups company out of Des Moines. All 3 of those are monthly finalists for the national competition. So you can go to dreambig.us and vote. So be sure to do that. One other thing, guys, we'd like to thank all of you that come out and support this every week. Without you guys being here, 1 Million Cups is just a couple of guys putting on something Wednesday morning. So thank you guys so much for supporting the community, supporting the dream, and always having great questions and feedback and input into the program. So I think that pretty much takes care of what we need to do to get off the ground this morning. I'd like to introduce Chris with Traveling Nuker and get everything going right. Give him a big round of applause.
Morning, everybody. My name is Chris Barron, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the company I created today, travelingnuker.com. I want to take a second to introduce my 2 team members, Tim Haskins and Dave Clark over here. And then we're going to get right into it, because unfortunately 6 minutes isn't a whole lot of time. So a little bit about myself. I started my first business when I was 16. When I was 20, I started working at IBM. When I was 24, I was a CTO and equity partner in a small firm, and our designer left us on short notice, so I decided to make a pivot with my life. So I joined up with the Carpenters Union. Since then, I've spent over 4,000 hours in 10 different nuclear facilities across the country constructing scaffolding. During this time, I identified a real problem that myself and other union brothers have. And that brings us to why we're here today. This industry, it's very difficult to find and track this work. So my union guys, you have to know what's happening on the schedule, where to go next. So this is where we are. We're the first to market to have a nuclear outage schedule combined with union hall hiring contact information. And why does this matter? These jobs are only 30 to 90 days in duration, and it's the contractor's responsibility to find where the next job is. So in order to stay busy in this industry, you have to be very well organized and on top of where things are happening. And here you can see we have over 100 reactors in the United States right now, all across the country. These are managed by over 25 different utility companies. We are the only resource that has the centralized schedule to get these guys going. And who are my union craftsmen? You can see a list up here. These are the guys that are building our bridges, our roads, our schools, our power plants. These are excellent middle-class jobs that you can't outsource, and we want to make sure that we have the most talented people working on our infrastructure in this country. So what does that look like? How did we solve this problem? Here's our website, and this user interface, one thing that we've done, you know, my union craftsmen, they can move a 300-ton turbine 100 feet and not injure any people or damage any equipment, but they're not often at home, sitting at home playing on their computers. So in order to serve this audience, we've had to go with a very simplistic user interface design. We can't really assume that they have a lot of prior knowledge working with computers. So for example, most people would expect to click on a column heading to do a sort. we've actually separated that out in a separate sort by section so we can call attention to the UI pieces and train these guys and get them working in our site very quickly. So down here at the data table, what does this look like? You've got the outage schedule here sorted by the date. You go all the way down to the Union Hall telephone numbers over here. And these union guys, there's no resumes involved. There's no job interviews involved. Their union credentials are recognized all throughout the country. So they just make a phone call to this union hall and say, hey, here's my union ID number. I'm out of work. I'd like to be involved with this upcoming outage. So you can see this is an excellent tool for my guys. There's a bunch of additional information. They could click on the telephone number, for example, and see a page here, who's the business agent that they need to be speaking with, and if there's a home page for that union hall. And there's a bunch of additional information here that we're not going to be able to demo for you. This is a look on the inside of Traveling Nuker. And what I want to bring your attention to here, we have almost 800,000 records of data. So we've got a lot of data here, still a lot more opportunity to write really interesting interfaces around this. And for all you developers out there, we're a Ruby on Rails application, and we use continuous integration. So each of our code sprints are very small, agile sprints, and we deliver that to our production systems almost immediately in very small steps. This is an excellent story, right? But how do we make money? Right now, our first decision was to go with the largest subscriber base with the smallest amount of fees, and that's our union craftsmen. Right now, currently, there's 30 million man-hours of maintenance done each year on U.S. nuclear facilities. My guys are making between $20 to $39 an hour, time and a half after 8 hours, time and a half on Saturday, and double time on Sunday. So you can see there's a lot of cash here for us to help solve this audience's problem. So that's an excellent start, but I'm sure every one of you is going to ask, well, how do we scale? So the next stage after we've looked at this large market with a small fee schedule is looking at a smaller market with a much larger fee schedule. This is the nuclear utility companies. Electrical generation in the US, nuclear electrical generation is a $70 billion market. We have data all the way back to 1999 about how all of these plants perform compared to other plants. This is really valuable information to the utilities. These outages could be costing as much as $1 million a day in profit lost each day that these plants are offline. So this data to the utility companies is very valuable. How do they stack up to the rest of the industry? What can they identify as problem areas to correct in their business so that they can be, orders of magnitude more profitable? Also, the vendors that service these nuclear power plants, companies that may recondition lubricant oil, or companies that build turbines, any of these associated services, they want to know what's going on. When are these outages happening? How well has this plant done? And then, as we get more craft penetration, we're going to be able to start to sell a tool to all these union halls to help manage this new lists of qualified candidates that they're seeing coming in. And right now, we have 440 union halls to create this product that cover the 100 nuclear plants that we have. So you can see it's a pretty decent-sized market. Now, why are we in Kansas City? This is thanks to the Homes for Hackers program and Ben Barrett. Thank you very much, Ben. It's been an excellent opportunity. My two team members are from Central New York, and I'm from Southern Florida. And we really appreciate all the support that we've seen here in Kansas City in helping us get our venture off the ground and helping us grow. Thank you very much, guys. Now it's time for a fun little science lesson. Most of you guys might believe that radiation glows green, as made popular by the Simpsons cartoon television show. These are actually photos of active nuclear reactor pools at plants across the United States. And you can see here in this picture, radiation in real life actually glows blue. Now there's some caveats to this. This is a fuel rod. The fuel rod has to already have been exposed to the chain reaction, and while it's submerged in its moderator after being involved in the chain reaction, it will glow blue, as you see here. And also, just a little foreshadowing, some of my guys might ask me a question a little bit later, but we have a little uranium sample with us today, and a fun little science lesson with that. And that is the time that we have for the presentation. This sticker up here, this is one of our sticker designs. We've got some of these stickers out on the table out front and the table over here. Help yourself to those, and we'll open it up to any questions.
Who's got a question? Don't be shy.
So I actually have a question over here on your left.
Sure.
So I know that during outages, you have different variants of time. So it should take, what, 6 weeks or, like you said, 90 days or something like that, right? Doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes it goes longer. How do you handle as far as your scheduling, or is it not even intended to do that, where it goes long and maybe the next thing that they're looking to get their next job, they're moving on to their next thing, that it doesn't conflict?
Exactly. One of the benefits of our platform is we deliver this information in real time, because this schedule does change very often. Like he said, these utility companies, there might be a large piece of machinery that they need to have delivered, and there were some logistical problems, and they shift it by a month, or they shift it by 2 or 3 weeks. And if you actually look inside of our interface, and I got a tab up here, it's, this fluctuates a lot. So what happens as we do updates, they'll show up in real time on our website for our customers. So it is a concern, because these guys, if you have a plan to go from job to job to job and one of them shifts a month, you might have to change your plans. That's why I usually encourage everybody that uses the site to get on all these out-of-work lists, because you never really know, but we deliver those updates in real time on our platform.
Could you sell that API back to the NRC?
Possibly. The NRC provides us, the cool thing about the NRC
You might explain what the NRC is, just.
Oh, yeah, actually, the NRC, nuclear work in the United States is actually the safest heavy industrial environment that you can work in as a construction worker. And that's because there's a lot of regulation. We have bodies like the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, that's a government body that's just focused on regulating nuclear stuff. And there's also the INPO, the International Nuclear Operators something, INPO, they also regulate, as well as OSHA. So you have all these regulatory agencies making sure that everything is on the up and up, and that translates into real value for the construction worker, because they're forced to comply with safety standards, and there's a real culture of safety inside of the industry.
So you touched on it briefly about how you're actually making money from the site that you have going on, but where does the billing actually take place? So if I'm a person that works on a nuclear power plant, how do I connect with your site, and how does that loop get closed?
Absolutely. So if you come into our website, you come into our homepage, you will have the ability to sign yourself up. So you can come in, you can sign up, click this little button here, boom, you come to a page, you enter your information. Once you're signed up, you can see all the past outage information, and then in there you can enter your credit card information, and as soon as you do that, you'll get instant access to the live data of the upcoming outages. So all of the, inside of our system, everything is done completely with automation, and it's completely self-service. So as I'm a user here, I can go over here and click on settings. I can see my complete billing history. I can get receipts for everything that I'm doing. I can change my card. It's all self-service at that point.
Great. We have another question back to your right.
So great presentation. First of all, thank you for moving your business to Kansas City. We appreciate that. So second question is, or it's really my first question, talk about revenue a little bit. You talked about how you make revenue. So project 5 years out, what kind of revenue do you see for yourselves as a business? And what other kinds of revenue streams do you see coming out of your business?
Absolutely. So like I said, we've started with the union workers, and we have about 3.5 million of those guys across the country. They're not all nuclear workers. they could potentially be nuclear workers. So there's some value to this site for people in the construction trades that want to go that route. We have about 250,000 or so active nuclear workers. And as it stands right now, we charge $20 a month for our subscription to the outage schedule. So we've got a lot of revenue potential there. And then, like I mentioned in our scalability slide, we can take a look at the nuclear utilities, and we would license that data about the other plants. And that would probably land somewhere about $5,000 to $8,000 a year. And we could license that on a per plant basis, and we've got 100 of those. And then after that, as we get more penetration with the craft, we can sell and interface to the union halls to help manage this list of qualified candidates. One interesting option that we have as well is there's a thing called PADS, Plant Access Data System, which is shared by all the nuclear utilities across the country. And this keeps information about when I was badged, when I had unescorted access at any facility, how much radiation I've received, whether other background check information I've done on me. And that system is a central place where I can see a history of a nuclear worker. So we hope to make a partnership with them sometime in the future, and then we can give the business agents some information about these guys, how many outages have they worked, to help them make better decisions as to who to choose to work this job.
Question over here to your right.
So I grew up in Oswego, New York, next to the 9 Mile plant, and I know there's a lot of concerns with people who have, with radiation. There's a lot of fear behind it. Now, you said you have some uranium up on stage. Should I be worried?
Excellent question, Tim. Excellent question. You should not actually be worried at all. And we're going to do another little fun science lesson here. This is a little piece of naturally occurring uranium. Uranium is just as common as tin, and the United States actually has the 4th largest supply of uranium inside of our borders in the world. Now, this little sample emits alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. Now, you guys don't have to back up. Everything's fine. Alpha radiation is blocked by paper. Beta radiation is blocked by plastic. Gamma is only blocked by lead. So right now, even though the sample is emitting alpha and beta, it's being blocked by this plastic bag. However, we can still read the gamma radiation, and this is a Geiger counter here. Now, one thing that people don't realize about radiation is it functions the same way as magnetism does. So when you have magnets close together, they're very strong, but you start to pull them away, and it dissipates very quickly. So these clicks here are in real time, and I'll see if I can get that on the mic. Now, if I set this thing next to the detector, it's going crazy, right? I back up a millimeter or two, a little bit more, hardly anything. Over here, there's no effect on this meter from this sample. So if you can imagine how that would work at a nuclear power plant, the amount of field that you would need to even have an effect on you at the fence of the property line, let alone 10 miles away from that. Not that there isn't enough material to have some significant impact, but for example, you need 100,000 times this field to produce changes in your body that your body will be able to repair. 300,000 times this field will cause a fatality in about 2 weeks. But we're talking about significant, extremely significant fields, and the way that it works is very difficult to accomplish that.
Question back over in your left.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that your portal will be a place for the industry to look up some history about the workers. Is there any thought also, would it make sense for the guys themselves to use this as a storage for their own credential and work history that they could log on to and view their own training history and work history, et cetera, et cetera?
Absolutely, yes. One of the other side features that we want to write is for the ability for our guys to track their hours. And this is something that my nuclear workers have to keep track of to make sure that they were paid correctly, they have benefits that need to be paid correctly, and then they can have this work history. Another thing is when you go into these jobs, you get a start date, you go and you work the outage, you could be laid off a day into the job, or you could be laid off 10 weeks into a 3-week job. You don't know that until about 2 hours before you get laid off. So I would like to have the ability for my guys to enter in their work history, and then I can actually do some interesting statistical analysis there and give you an indicator. If you're a new person, how likely are you, how long is it that you can expect to last? You know, if you're a one-time returning person, how long can you expect to reasonably last? So absolutely, that's one of the things that we're looking at is ways for these guys to keep track of their own data inside of this system as well.
Question for you right up here.
Chris, this is amazing the information you have in this already, but I'm wondering if you have any plans to do little add-on apps like to help these 250,000 traveling nukers travel, like make hotel, motel, campground reservations, calculate travel times and that sort of thing to make sure they can get from job to job to job and have a place to live when they're there.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's some of the tooling that we're looking at in the future here. We want to have these guys be able to enter their zip code, and then I'm going to give you a list of how many miles and how many hours by road that you need to travel. Because you're going to see, I mean, from the map that we had, you know, you're going to go from point to point to point. So if you live in New York and then you grab a job in Virginia, you might want to grab a job in Georgia since you're already in Virginia, and you need to know how far it is to get to that other point. And that's been one of the biggest requested features, is also to give a list of what places you can stay when you get there. You know, you've got hotels, motels, you've got campgrounds. A lot of people do this in RVs because it's a lot cheaper that way. But absolutely, there's a lot of information you need to know about this place because you're just coming there for the first time and you're going to have to live there for a month or two.
Another question in the back.
Yeah, do all the workers at a nuclear site have to be unionized now? The piping designers, the structural engineers, all that?
There is no requirement for them to be unionized. A good majority, about 90%, are unionized. You'll have certain, it usually depends on the state's political opinions. So there's a handful of states that generally hire non-union contractors, but a vast majority of the plants hire union contractors.
Question up here in the middle.
This is a very cool site. Do you have a phone option? The reason I ask is I spent some time in the construction industry, and a lot of these people either don't have internet access or may not use an internet, and it'd be really convenient for them to be able to call.
Absolutely. We don't have right now any big plans for a specific phone UI that you could call into, but Tim actually has been working very hard on our site. So we're about to release mobile versions, because as you can see here, we're already mobile optimized. So we'll be spinning up some smartphone apps, which is becoming a lot more popular with our union guys. So I think that will help. But we don't have any current plans right now to have a really good call-in system, but we may be able to accommodate something like that.
Next question up front here.
Very well thought out and very well presented. In regards to billing, have you ever considered doing per labor hour actually scheduled through this? Because at $20 per month, 40-hour work week, you're about 12.5 cents per labor hour. If I were in construction, I'm like, look, I'll be a part of your site for results. So if you book me work, I'll pay you. So you could maybe even go to 15 cents per labor hour actually scheduled to be an additional 20% in revenue. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, it's could be a possibility. There'd be a lot of interesting logistical stuff that I would have to be able to manage to be able to do that. Right now, we're trying to be a little bit lax on getting this out there because we're trying to get the word out there. Right now, we had 25 paying subscriptions. The summertime is a little slow for nuclear stuff, so that scaled back to like 15. So we're trying to build up that base. One of our main missions here at the Hacker House and in Kansas City is to build our revenue to a level to keep these guys rent and groceries paid for. A labor hour version of this would be excellent, but there'd definitely be a lot of logistics and stuff involved with that.
Question here in the back.
Yeah.
You have a great idea. I have a question. Are these workers considered self-employed, and if so, how do they gain access to employee benefits?
These guys, when they hire on as contractors, they're completely on the W-2. So they'll hire into a company as normally, and then they're going to get laid off when the job is over. And their benefits, what happens for my union guys is they'll get so many dollars per hour in their paycheck, And then the employer also pays so many dollars per hour in benefits that go back to the union hall. So for example, my guys will typically have health and welfare, which will pay for their medical and dental insurance. They'll have a pension, and they'll also have an annuity. Some places do a vacation fund where you'll get a check twice a year. So all of that is administrated by the union halls, but the company pays that to the union halls, and then they administrate that. So myself, for example, they cover all my medical insurance. So even though I'm not working, at a plant right now, I still have all my medical insurance coverage, and my union hall takes care of that for me.
Question for you right here.
So I think it's awesome that you guys are using a part of what you're pulling is government data and using that to fill a need. The question I have is, have you identified an area where you don't have access to some additional data that would allow you to provide even more value? I know you mentioned, I think it was pads, or I don't know if that's a government program, or are there other areas where you could be getting more data and doing even more useful stuff for this market?
Oh, absolutely. One of our challenges is coming up with the upcoming outage schedule, because it is very fluctuates a lot, and there's not a lot of good, clean sources for that information. And a lot of the utilities themselves prefer not to disclose that information. They'll say, oh, our outage is a trade secret. The beautiful thing about that is I can calculate from all that historical data based on their cycle lengths, based on the maintenance items they've done at their facilities, when they're going to have to turn off. Because it's just like a car. You have to change your oil every so many thousand miles. You got to change your steam generator every so many hours of operation. And we will be trying to seek out some more interesting data sets. I mean, there's tons of work to be done here in the industry, and it's $70 billion market. So.
Hey, Chris, to your right here. Mm-hmm. I think I got your final question, but you guys said you moved here for Homes for Hackers, which is a short-time, free housing project where for 3 months you get to live in the fiber house and work on fiber. So I want to hear a little bit about how you decided to move to Kansas City and to really become part of this community, and a little bit of what are your plans, at least moving forward, because I know it's the 3-month housing thing. Are you guys going to stay, and at least until the next job? And then our final question, I know it's a long one, but what can we continue to do as a community to support you and what you're doing?
Excellent. Well, I had a little bit of a premonition that I might encounter such a question. To speak a little bit about the Homes for Hackers, so our plans, we have a month left at the Homes for Hackers. So Tim and Dave are going to be full-time here in Kansas City. So we are looking for places to get them rented. We would prefer to be in the startup village if we can. If not, we'll take whatever we can get. Hopefully we've got some fiber hookup. So we're working on that. We'll be working on that pretty hard. So any contacts you guys have for good places, absolutely let us know. I'll be here slightly after the Homes for Hackers, but then I head off to Pennsylvania to do an outage at Peach Bottom, and then hopefully 3 Mile Island after that. And then I will be coming back after that. So it's been an excellent experience. I read about Google Fiber on a press release, and I'm like, why is it in Kansas City? Why isn't it in Silicon Valley or New York City? And then I started reading about Kansas City and the movements they're trying to create. And I hooked up with Ben Bareth for the Homes for Hackers. I came here for a 10-day stay. I must have met 50 people here. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I've been in over 20 different US cities, and I never have a reception like that before. So I'm like, this is definitely a place that I am interested in finding out more about. So after my little stay, we got set up with the Homes for Hackers program, and it's been amazing. Some of the connections we've been able to make and the things that we've been able to accomplish. In terms of what you can do for us, like I said, we need to find a place for these two guys. And also, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're looking for mentoring connections and ideas, specifically with sales and low-cost national distribution. Our challenge, we've got these 3 million potential customers, but they're scattered all throughout the United States. So it's hard for us to be able to focus on any given market. We need to get a wider message to capture as many of these people as we can. So anything there, absolutely. Introductions, any introductions to the utility companies, and these are some of the big ones, Exelon, Entergy, Progress, any connections with the NRC or nuclear construction companies. CB&I is a big one, Dane Zimmerman, Bechtel, Alstom. There's a huge, much larger list of these guys, but any contacts, any introductions, that would be excellent. Awesome.
Thank you very much. All right, so while we prepare for our next presenter, we've got some announcements, because this is the time when we do announcements. Nancy Parker, where are you? Well, come on up. Don't just sit there. Come on. I'll hand you this mic.
Hi, I'm Nancy Parker. I'm from Columbia, Missouri, and I'm with the University of Missouri Technology Transfer Group. And we are going to have a technology expo in Columbia at the Bond Center on September 19th. It's a one-day symposium where we will feature 15 to 18 technologies. Some of these are startups or companies that are just getting, or researchers that are just getting started on some new technologies that you may want to be aware of if you're an entrepreneur. We also have several companies that are looking for entrepreneurs, more funding, someone to license their technology to and take it to the marketplace. So if you can join us on September 19th, Columbia campus at the Bond Building, we'd appreciate it. We do have a website where you can see all the abstracts listed that the university has. Not all of those will be talked about at the symposium. Only 15 to 18 will be discussed. But if you go to MoTech Expo at missouri.edu, you can see the registration, what we have planned for the day. Starting tomorrow, Dr. Foley, who will be our, get the name right here, he's Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs, will start at MU, and he will be our luncheon speaker. We also have Han Chen, who is a venture capitalist from San Diego, that will come in and be our keynote speaker. We also have Toby Rush from the Kansas City area with iVerify will come in and talk about how he started his company and got things going. And also Carl Korkendorfer with MedSocket will come down from Chicago and give us his thoughts on what's it like to run a business. So if you can join us for the day, we'd appreciate. There's a luncheon, and then there's a happy hour after the meeting to dedicate the new research commons there at the University of Missouri. So thanks for the opportunity to speak. Hope you can make it. I'll be around this morning. If you want some more information, I'll be glad to visit with you.
Thank you, Nancy. That's great stuff. Brenda, where are you? There you are. I forgot who you were bringing. Yeah, come on up. It's just like Price is Right.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings. My name is Donna Wright. I am the Vice President of the Mid-America Minority Supplier Development Council. That's a long name. So I'm going to shorten that in my minute as the council. We are pleased to be here this morning to announce our 17th Annual Business Opportunity Exchange. This will take place on August the 28th and 29th at Benton's Crown Center and also at the Sheraton Hotel, Kansas City. Our keynote speaker for the Business Opportunity Exchange is going to be Dr. Farrar Gray, the noted author, philanthropist, and entrepreneur. I will add that he is the self-made millionaire at the very young age of 14 years old. The day, August 29th, is full of workshops, educational workshops for corporations, for minority and women business owners, for buying entities. Our vision and our goal is to facilitate greater purchasing power with corporations and our minority and diverse business owners. A couple of other things that we want to do on behalf of Anthony Williams, our president and CEO, our board of directors, over 100 corporate members, over 260 women and minority business owners. We're inviting you to come out if you're a purchasing agent, if you are a buying community, to facilitate and just help us build relationships through community collaboration and diversity. If you'd like more information, we do have a website. It is m-s-c.org/BOE 2013. Brenda Zaragoza, our office manager, is here with me this morning. We're here to answer all of your questions if you have any. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
And finally, everybody's favorite demystifier from Kaufman. Here comes Cameron Cushman.
That's hard to live up to. Just quick couple of things. How many of you guys are familiar with the term crowdfunding? How many of you could define it? How many of you know the impact it could have for your startup? How many of you know that it's even legal? There you go. Okay, so the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has actually laid out some guidance for how crowdfunding is going to work. It was technically made legal by Congress about 1.5 years ago. Nobody knows what this is really going to look like. Nobody knows how it's really going to roll out and how that's going to happen. And we get a lot of questions here about crowdfunding. What is it? What does it mean for my business? How do you do it? What are some of the platforms you can use to make it happen? So we've decided to put together a little event to try to answer some of those questions. So we don't have the full thing to roll out today, but we're just going to release the save the date. And if I can get the slide up now, that'd be great. Tuesday, August 27th, it's going to be a several-hour event. We're going to have 3 local crowdfunding experts talk about defining crowdfunding, helping us figure out what the SEC regulations mean for you and your startup, and then also talking about how you actually do it. We're going to have a startup that successfully raised money on one of the platforms, tell us their experience with it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the overarching data of crowdfunding, how one particular platform helps startups get started. The best part of the whole thing is we are actually going to have a lunch on that day with the CEO of Indiegogo, which is one of the biggest crowdfunding platforms. Slava Rubin is going to be here that day, and he's going to talk to us and answer some questions and talk about Indiegogo and what that platform has meant in sort of the past of crowdfunding, what it means today, and where he thinks it is going. So we'll have information on how you can sign up next week. Please sign up. Look for some more information on that probably Monday or Tuesday of next week. Just follow us on Twitter and Facebook and things like that. The next thing, Nate wanted me to reiterate that Dream Big America is voting is live now. You have about an hour to vote for the 3 finalists for the month of July. This is the first month we've done this, and all 3 of them are 1 Million Cups alumni, 2 from Kansas City and 1 from Des Moines. So go to, there you go, that's right. Go to dreambigamerica.us, dreambigamerica.us, and cast your vote now. It's American Idol style, so you literally have about another hour to go vote, and the winner will be announced tomorrow. And then starting next week, we'll start with a whole new crop of startups to vote for, and we'll get the August competition underway. So dreambigamerica.us. Hope you can vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. All right, on to our next speaker. So this is one of those days that happen on occasion where we've got something that's really, really high-tech and something that's really, really not high-tech. So our next presenter is Boys Grow, and I think what's really cool about kind of the commonality between these two is they're all about creating jobs. So Traveling Nuker is creating, these big, huge jobs, and these guys with Boys Grow are all about creating local entrepreneurs and really helping out. Look at this grit. Look at these guys. This is like half their class, and they're all going to become amazing entrepreneurs one of these days real soon. So please welcome John Gordon Jr. up to tell us all about it. And others.
Is this available then? Okay.
So many microphones.
All right. Good morning, Million Cups. So, as mentioned, we're not going to challenge your IQ on nuclear physics, but we will challenge you on a fresh approach to youth empowerment. So in 2008, I was working in Glenn County as a counselor, and it was a clinical type setting. We worked with a variety of foster kids. And we had one kid in particular who got shipped out to the country. And I went to go visit him about 2 months later, and when I knew him, he was kind of a sunken kid who, type of guy that might steal your wallet if you left it laying around. within 2 months, he transformed into a whole different guy. And what happened was his new foster family, they lived on a small plot. So what they did is he actually had responsibility of taking care of the chickens. He had a goat he had to take care of, and he had a small garden plot that he actually had to tend to. And this wasn't a hobby. This was something that he had to do for the betterment of the family. So at that point, the seed of Boys Grow was planted in my mind. And I moved back to Kansas City in 2010 and launched Boys Grow. So the idea was to create a program, but better yet, to create a business. And not just any business, a business that the actual youth would run. They'd work on the website, they'd do the public speaking, they would harvest the 10 acres that we sell to local restaurants, they would help secure new accounts. They would create products that they would design, market, and sell. It'd be a no-fluff approach to youth development. So at Boys Grow, what we do is we use farming and agriculture to teach entrepreneurism to inner city youth.
Hello, my name is Lou Rivers. I'm an 8th grader at Lee A. Tolbert. I am on the public speaking team and construction team. I am also the owner of Lou's Lawn and Grass. I have learned a lot from Boys Grow. I've learned about branding and what it means. Branding is your first impression. I learned I need to get a better logo for my business, something that speaks to who we are and what we represent. Thanks for your time.
Hello, my name is Tyson Hicks Garlington, and I'm on the Design and Arts team. I help work on the barbecue sauce label of Boys Grow, and I attend Hickman. Before I got involved with Boys Grow, I was very shy, but now I am more like outgoing, and I also realized I'm a great salesman. And I can sell you some barbecue sauce.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Bush, and I'm going to be a 9th grader at East High School. I am on the public speaking team and the harvest team. What I have been learning at Boys Grow is how to plant seeds and take care of plants and give them what they need. Food is important, and I know how to grow it.
Dagan Berkeley, 15 years old, attend Hogan High School. I'm on the public speaking team and media team. What I learned doing my job is that being presentable is important because it shows who you truly are. I also learned that giving a good presentation shows your work ethic. Twitter and Facebook are websites and tools that help our capital campaign.
Carlos Liner, 14 years old, attend Bishop Ward High School, work at Boys Grow as a harvester and public speaking. I wake up every morning 2 hours before coming to work to catch 2 buses to get to work. I wake up before my grandmother does and out the house before most boys my age even wake up. It takes hard work and dedication to have a job.
My name is Tariq Nash, and I'm a class of 2013 Boys Grow worker. Entrepreneurism, which is a very important topic, is what we pride ourselves in at Boys Grow. We make sure that every person, whether it be speaking events or product demoing, is ready, prepared, and professional. The entrepreneurial side of Boys Grow deals mainly with our products. Our barbecue sauce took many tests, recipes, and hours in order for it to come out just right. Now our barbecue sauce is in over 100 locations. Knowing that all your hard work pays off in the end is a great feeling, especially since I was on the culinary team and assisted with the recipes. Boys Grow is creating young entrepreneurs that will one day venture out into the world and start their own businesses. Boys Grow has taught me a numerous set of skills that will help my future business succeed. I have learned that you need to be aware of your competition when starting a business. I also learned that you need to be aware of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Boys Grow's entrepreneurial teachings are helping me realize the dream that I have, which is opening my own restaurant. Learning what it takes to run a business is exactly what I need to help jumpstart my future. I greatly appreciate everything Boys Grow has done for me. God needed a caretaker, so God created a farmer. God needed someone to wake up early, milk the cows, work in the fields, milk the cows again, then go into town and stay past midnight, so God created a farmer. However, God did wanted someone to wake up, put on a suit and tie, go to business meetings, start their own business, but most importantly, harvest ideas, so God created an entrepreneur. God is wrapping the whole farmer plus businessman into an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a provider who provides jobs for people. An entrepreneur is a caretaker who takes care of their employees and family. An entrepreneur is a farmer who harvests not only greens, but ideas as well. Most importantly, an entrepreneur is a regular person like me and you, which means anyone can become an entrepreneur. God creating the entrepreneur is paving the way for us as we follow in the footsteps of great entrepreneurs. Our dream is to not be just as good, but better than those entrepreneurs who walk before us. However, there is one thing that cripples this endeavor. Boys Grow doesn't have its own farm. Without our own farm, we can't have a stable location, and instead we are tearing down and rebuilding our farm all over again every year. So if we were to get our own farm, then we can expand Boys Grow even more. Boys Grow is getting us there one step at a time. Everything that Boys Grow has taught me will not be forgotten, but carried into my future restaurant. I hope that we will stay in touch so that future collaborations between Boys Grow and my business will arise. I look forward to seeing Boys Grow progress even more so that I may look back on it with my kids and say, I was and always will be a part of Boys Grow. Thank you. And now I guess we open up for questions.
Time for questions. Nobody actually wants to follow him, I think.
Yeah, right.
Hello, I'm the farm manager here for these lovely young men. And my question is this: if Kansas City is such a breeding ground for entrepreneurism, and the food movement has caught into Kansas City as it is, why are we also not a homegrown base for a lot of growers who want to go? Right now, I see you have 3 directions you can go: west, north, or east. California, Wisconsin, or New York. But I feel people have the opportunity to come here and learn what we have to. I spent 5 years traveling through multiple countries and states just to learn what I did to come back here and work with these young men. So if we have homes for hackers, let's have homes for home growers as well. Thank you.
All right, got a question for you guys back here.
So you mentioned needing a farm. What are the options there, and what's it going to take for you guys to secure that? What do you need?
We need donations to get our own farm.
Here, another question back here on the right, on your left.
How close would the farm need to be to make sense?
It wouldn't have to be, well, driving isn't really a problem that I think. 50 to 20 minutes.
Hold on just a second.
You guys can question for you right here.
That was actually my question too. I was wondering if 45 minutes would be too far away.
We need to cap it out at 30 minutes. It's because we meet in the west side, so that's an hour driving each day. So we need to cap the farm out at 30 minutes, and we need at least about 8 acres. 8 acres to grow on, so it has to be 30 minutes from downtown, any direction.
Your question here, back on your left.
So I know there's a campaign for Neighborly for you guys, right?
Correct.
Right. How close are you? What's the status? And how you doing?
I think we're at 7,000 raised, and we're looking to get 30,000 in the next 35 days. So we're climbing there, but this was a big event for us, so hopefully this is a big push.
Question here back in the middle.
I know that this is an inner city project, and so my question to you is what kind of support or pushback are you getting from the city government?
Carlos, you want to take that one? I was joking. I mean, a little bit here and there. We've met with a couple councilmen about a couple farming locations, potentially working with the city in collaboration with that.
Got a question for you over here to your left.
Kansas City, Missouri has just formed the land bank, and they have blighted areas that they want to do things with the properties. And are you set on having one farm, or can you maybe work with the city and have smaller?
we've been through Wyandotte and Jackson County land banks. The reality of the program is what we're trying to do is take myself and the boys out of the city and get a little bit of fresh air. So we want problems with raccoons. We want problems with coyotes. We want a little bit of a farm where a lot of the land banks are kind of smaller areas and the soil quality is not good, and it's in the city.
Question back here on your left.
Well, I want to thank you all for a rousing, literally, presentation. But my question relates to how you define inner city and what the qualifications are for being a participant in the program and how one might make a referral. I don't know what the right terminology is even, but I was hoping you could help us understand a little more about how you select participants and what the geographic criteria are.
Geographic criteria is they just have to get transportation to the community center that we meet at, and then we bus everybody out to the location. As far as application process, we take the boys when they're in 7th or 8th grade, we keep them for about 2 years. And then as far as how they get into the program, everyone's got a different story, and I'll let Carlos tell you how he found out about it.
Well, I found out it through my school. It was at Ivanhoe neighborhood. I found out through them. And so I was at school and told a few boys about it, and we signed up for Boys Grow.
I gotcha.
Hey guys, great presentation. Where is your absolute ideal location for a farm? Like in like a river valley somewhere, or what's type of soil, or what are you guys ideally looking for?
Like I said, about 10 acres, 30 minutes of downtown. We want a small farming community is what we want. I mean, the reality is, including myself, I'm a little bit better now, but I don't have a farming background, neither do these guys. So the more tasks and the more chores we have, the more of a community we can create. So when we got a small functional farm, you know, right now we have 11 chickens, but if we had 50 chickens or 100 chickens, that's more eggs, that's more chores, that's more stuff we can do. So to answer your question, I mean, we just want to create a small farming community. So if there's a small farmhouse on there or something we can build on, that'd be ideal. So,
question for you right here.
I just got to tell you guys, I'm obsessed with your agave ketchup. Fantastic. Where can we find your products?
You know, John?
Whole Foods, Hen House, Constantino's, Zacataz, all those restaurants.
Great question over here on your left.
Ditto on the ketchup. I also have a product question. If in the future, what are your plans for marketing with the products, and do you hope to eventually be self-sufficient, self-sustaining with your products, or is this always going to be kind of a foundation-driven organization?
So these guys get paid. I'm not sure if we mentioned that. So these guys get paid, we get paid, we all get paid. To be on the farm for one day is pretty expensive for us. We got 35 people working at one time. The reality is we make a buck off a jar or something like that. So when we started looking to our own property, we wanted to expand our product line. Well, we have a new product every year. So raise your hand if you're 2013 class. So this is the barbecue class, all right? And then 2014 is the other guys. 2014, raise your hands. All right, so we just had a business meeting yesterday about their product launch, what they're gonna do. So to answer your question, when we talked about getting our own property, we realized there might be a mortgage involved, so we decided to expand our distribution line. So we started with about 6 restaurants with the ketchup or the salsa. The following year we picked up another 6 or 8, so we got about 15 locations, including Whole Foods and Costantino's and a couple of small mom and pop stores. And then when we realized we wanted our own location, we said, all right, let's expand what we're doing. So we struck a deal with Westlake Hardware. So about 2 months ago, they rolled out, and that puts us in 7 states across the Midwest in Westlake. That's the 100 locations that we're in 2 of the 3 products. So hopefully in the third quarter, they'll get the barbecue sauce in there. So,
Question for you right here.
More of a comment. Have you got, as far as finding property, have you approached like MFA, Missouri Farmers Association, or Ray Carroll Co-op, which is just north of Kansas City? They know all the farmers in the area. I don't think you'd have any trouble at all getting somebody to donate 10 acres for your program. But I'd get out in the farm community. And
for sure,
look
we should talk. The problem is the proximity sometimes, but we are definitely open to it.
Another question back to your right.
Since my business is a gluten-free bakery, and we always are looking for, since the family has to eat gluten-free, do you know if your product is gluten-free, both the ketchup and the barbecue sauce?
Yes.
It is good, good, because it's an emerging market.
No, I know that. I'm not sure about the barbecue sauce. The salsa and the ketchup, I believe, are.
Okay, because it's going to help you sell more stuff.
Of course, of course.
Question over here on your left.
I had 2 questions, actually. My first question is, I understand that you said they come in as 7th and 8th graders, and then they graduate out of the program. Do you have something to where you can kind of keep in reach with those boys that grow, and something that maybe has them come back and mentor younger children? And then my next question is, I know this is probably an outreach because you are just starting, but have you thought about expanding the program in, other rural states as well? Just to get more awareness in the United States, because it really is a great program. I think it's something that definitely our youth needs, not just in Missouri, but probably all over the United States.
Regarding your first question about after the program, I was in the first class of Boys Grow, the initial class when it first started. My class made a salsa, and it was for 2 years. I graduated, and John let me come back as a mentor for the kids, just to show how you can keep going throughout the program and how it stays with you as you grow. I'll be a senior at Lincoln College Prep, and it was a really good experience. I'll let John take the second half of the question, because I don't know.
And we got a proud Kaufman scholar over here, too. So he's been through the program. So Ben is known as a chicken whisperer. He was a 2011 graduate, and he is the first guy that we hire back as a staff member. So to answer your question a little bit, what we do is we tell the kids they got to be 2 years out of the program. So they got to be 1 year, there has to be 1 year where they're not involved. The second year they can apply for a position with the program to come back as a staff member. So Ben is a paid employee. All these guys are paid, but he gets paid a little bit more. And then he goes to all the staff meetings. He is treated just like a staff, him and the other 6 guys that we hired. So, and that's one way. Another way, we're working with job placement. We're got a deal going with door-to-door organics that we're hopefully working with. We're gonna do a job placement with them. And then a couple other opportunities where actually, hopefully, feeder systems through different locations for these boys to actually work when they turn 16 or 18. Second part of the question, I'll answer real quick for you. As far as scaling, I guess is pretty much what you're getting at. We need our own location here to really hunker down and get this leveled out and get the situation totally under control. The program, this is our 4th year, and we're working out the kinks every year, and every year it's just getting more concise and better, and the kids are getting more out of it, the more organized it is. So we're at a good point, but we need to hunker down to get our location before we can potentially expand. And I'm open to expanding to, potentially whether it's 2 locations in Kansas City or 1 in St. Louis and 1 in KC, the opportunity is there, and it can be done, but we really need to kind of make sure we start off on the right foot.
Got a question for you here in the back.
When you first started creating your products, did you rent a kitchen, or how did you do that to start out with, and how are you doing it now?
So the initial business format was Ben's class. We were going to grow a bunch of stuff. We were going to have tomatoes, cilantro, basil. We're going to go to a certified kitchen. We're going to make it, can it, sell it. It was going to be awesome. It was going to be great. Whole Foods says, I don't think so. They said, if you can't provide the product, then we're not going to pick it up. So then we had to sit back with the boys. We said, all right, we can do one of two things. We can make it ourselves and sell it to just at farmers markets for a month or two, or else we can contract that out, bring the percentage of the produce to them, let them make it in bulk so we can actually create a real business out of this. So to answer your question, we go through original wands. So we do all the design, the label, the distribution, the sales, everything. We just let them make it once we bring them some of the produce that we create.
So our normal ending question is, what can we as a community come together to help you guys do? I think the answer to that is get you a farm. But is there anything else you want to add as a final word?
Yeah, the theory of what we're doing here is to literally let these guys do everything. And events like this are huge. I don't know if anyone's ever had the opportunity or the fear of speaking in public, but it's not easy. And these guys are out here, and I'll use Tyson as an example. He came into the program last year super shy and a little combative, I'll be honest with you, all right? We sent Tyson out to Whole Foods with a couple other guys, and before you know it, they had a whole game plan about how they were going to sell the ketchup. Tyson was going to hit the meat department because he saw there was a flow of people coming through this way. So Tyson would go there, he would stop them right there, he would channel them this way, and then maybe JB, I don't know, somebody else picked them up, and they had this whole sales concept on what they were doing. And that literally came from his brain, right? Now from there, I've seen this guy thrive, nothing but thrive with the program. And what he's done is he was a little shy today, that's all right, but he is by far the best salesman we've had at Boys Grow. And coming from where he started to where he is now, to me, that speaks to what the program is doing, which is empowering these kids by letting them really do it themselves.
Thank you guys so much. For the record, nobody has ever gotten a standing ovation at 1 Million Cups. So. All right, everybody will be hanging out here for a little bit. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.